Take a good look. It's gone. So tomorrow is going to be the most ridiculous and most terrible day of my life in which I hate everything. And I honestly can't be bothered to make a video on a day like tomorrow because tomorrow is the day of the tech rehearsal and the day of chamber choir practice at 6:30 in the bloody morning and the day of my econ test and blah blah blah. I don't want to talk about it, so instead I'm just going to use some footage of me saying one of my lines. Earlier today on Twitter, Amy implied that I don't know my lines. I'm gonna go ahead and nip that in the bud right now by showing you this one-take clip of me talking for 4 minutes straight. If you have an R-Town script on hand, you can pick it up and turn to whatever page this monologue is on and see that I'm doing it all word for word. I'm not trying to brag. I just am. I don't know much, but I know my lines. This time 9 years have gone by, friends. Summer 1913. Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers are coming to town now in Fords. Everybody locks their house doors now at night, and ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about them. You'd be surprised, though. On the whole, things don't change much around here. This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. Come up here on a fine afternoon, you can see range on range of hills, awful blue they are, up there by Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee. Of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnock, is right here. And all around it lie these towns, Jaffrey and North Jaffrey, Peterborough and Dublin, and there, quite a ways down, is Grover's Corners. Yes, beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people like to be buried. I often wonder why people like to be buried in Woodlawn or Brooklyn when they might pass up the same time here in New Hampshire. Here are the old stones, 1660 to 1670, strong-minded people who come a long way to be independent. Summer people walk around here and laugh at the funny words on the tombstones. It don't do any harm. And genealogists come up from Boston, get paid by city people for looking up their ancestors. They want to make sure they're daughters of the Revolution and of the Mayflower. Well, I suppose that don't do any harm either. Over here are some Civil War veterans. Iron flags on their graves. New Hampshire boys had a notion the Union ought to be kept together, though they'd never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, friends. The United States of America. The United States of America, and they went and died about it. This is the new part of the cemetery. There's your friend Mrs. Gibbs, and Simon Stimson, organist at the Congregational Church. And Mrs. Soames, who enjoyed the wedding so much, remember? Oh, and a lot of others. There's Editor Webb's boy Wallace, whose appendix burst while he was on a camping trip up to Crawford Notch. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow was sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief bring their relatives up to this spot. And then times, sunny days, rainy days, snow. Well, we all know how it is. Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal, and it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't earth, and it ain't even the stars. There's something that's eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people ever lived have been telling us that for 5,000 years, and yet you'd be surprised how people are always letting go of that fact. There's something that's eternal about each and every human being. You know, the dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. Gradually, they let go hold of the earth and the ambitions they had and the pleasures they had and the things they suffered and the people they loved. They get weaned away from the earth. That's the way I put it, weaned away. They stay up here while the earth part of them burns away, burns out, and all that time, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting. They're waiting for something they feel is coming, something important and great. Aren't they waiting for the eternal part in them to come out clear? Some of the things they're going to say, maybe you'll hurt your feelings, but that's the way it is. Mother and daughter, husband and wife, enemy and enemy, money and miser, all those terribly important things kind of grow pale around here. And what's left? What's left when memory's gone and your identity, Mrs. Smith,